So today and tomorrow we're going to continue looking at how to write and solve multi-step equations when we're given a word problem. So we want to remember what we talked about last week. The first thing we need to do is just figure out what would we do if we were asked to solve this problem. And when we think about that, it'll be easier to write our equation. So let's start by looking at the problem. At last Sunday's football game, the home team scored the following points. 5 touchdowns worth 6 points each. 4 times they kicked an extra point worth 1 point each. Twice they scored a field goal worth 3 points each. The visiting team scored 45 points. Write an equation for H, the number of points the home team scored at their game on Sunday. Next, solve your equation to see who won the football game. So it looks to me like the first thing we need to do is figure out how many points the home team scored. So let's start with one line of this at a time. 5 touchdowns worth 6 points each. If we needed to figure out how many points that was, what would we do? Well, for every touchdown they scored, they got 6 points. So that's 6 points for the first one, 6 points for the next one, etc. All 5 touchdowns are worth 6 points each. So that would be 5 times 6. That would tell us how many points they got for touchdowns. The next line says 4 times they kicked an extra point that was worth 1 point each. We know that's 4 points, but we're writing an equation, so what would you do to solve that? Well, for each one of those opportunities that they kicked an extra point, they got 1 point. So that's 4 times they kicked and got 1 point each, or 4 times 1. Twice they scored a field goal worth 3 points each. Well, we have to know what twice means. Twice means it happened 2 times. So 2 times they scored a field goal worth 3 points each. We could write 3 plus 3, but is there another way that we could write that? Sure, just like we did before, we could say 2 times they kicked a field goal worth 3 points each. Now, we're trying to write an equation for this. So yes, we could go in and say this amount plus this amount plus this amount and just give a total. But we're asked for an equation that shows how to calculate that. So we know our equation uses the variable h. That's for h, for the home team. So now we need to put all of this information into an equation. So remember, when we need to solve one part of an equation first, what do? We put it in parentheses. So the first thing we need to do is multiply 5 times 6. So we're going to put that in parentheses, 5 times 6. Then what do we need to do? Well, we need to multiply 4 times 1. What needs to go between those two parentheses? I need an operation there. I can't leave it like it is, or it means multiply. What are we doing with these points? Well, every time they score another touchdown or get another extra point or a field goal, they're adding points on. So we need to add these points together. But we have not put in the part of the equation for their field goals. So we also need to add on their field goals. Now, we have touchdowns here, extra points here, and field goals here. Have we accounted for all of the points that they scored? We have. So now we're asked, once we have our equation, to solve our equation and see who won. So we're going to solve one part of this equation at a time. So we're going to start with the first set of parentheses. What is 5 times 6? 5 times 6 is 30, so we can put that down. We're writing the rest of the equation down just like it says, solving one part at a time, replacing that part of the equation with its answer. So now we're going to the next set of parentheses, so we're going to solve this part next. We're going to write everything else down, solve just this part. 4 times 1 we know is 4. Very good. And then write the rest of the equation. What needs to happen next? Can I add next? Do I multiply? Do I worry with parentheses? What do I do? I always take care of all of the parentheses before I do anything else. So I'm writing my equation down. 30 plus 4 plus, the answer to 2 times 3 is 6. So 30 plus 4 plus 6. Now, can I solve? I can. And I'm adding because that's the only thing left in my equation. 30 plus 4 is 34. 34 plus 6 equals 40. So I know the home team scored 40 points. I'm asked, who won the game? Well, the visiting team scored 45 points and the home team scored 40 points. So who won the game? The visitors won. By how much? Well, that would be easy to figure out. How could you figure out how much the visiting team won by? Well, you would just subtract 45 points that the visiting team scored minus 40 points that the home team scored. That means the visitors won by 5. I bet the home team was not happy about that.